Hello, everybody, and welcome to HTF Bets, our live Thursday show here on the Hitting the Field Network. I'm your host, Riley Sheppard. My guys and I have a jam-packed show including UCF Football, the NFL, and as always, our surefire bets of the week. So don't go anywhere because HTF Bets starts now. Welcome back, everybody. Riley Sheppard, Jeff Laux, and Doug Smethurst here as my co-host. Doug, NFL trade deadline was this past Tuesday. Who was the biggest winner?
Well, this was an exciting trade deadline, the most trades ever at a deadline in NFL. But my winner has to be probably the Miami Dolphins, getting Bradley Chubb. They also got Jeff Wilson, who reunites with the San Francisco head coach. He could maybe fight for Mostert to take lead back.
Yeah, Jeff, do you agree?
I don't think so, because the real team that are winners is getting T.J. Hawkinson away from the Detroit Lions for a fourth rounder for a top 5 tight end. That is
a second rounder.
And a second rounder.
But
when I think about it, it's obsolete in
Yeah.
the actual trade itself, because you have to replace him with that second rounder, and then you just get a fourth rounder with him.
And I mean, he's not going too far from Detroit to Minnesota, but I mean, the win total is a little bit different, going from last in NFC North to first in NFC North. But let's get right into our Beast Best Bust. And Jeff, you had the Beast this week.
Yes, and I'm so pleasured to talk about Mikey Keene.
No, absolutely.
It is Mikey Keene's season, everyone. Let's hooray, celebrate, because it is time for Mikey Keene to take the role of the starting QB role for UCF Knights. And the reason why is because he came back in the last game against Cincinnati after John Rice Plumlee got injured, and I hope he heals up, because he's a great person. A good quarterback, but he makes a lot of mistakes on the field that I just don't like to see as a football fan.
And I just want to say one thing, and before I toss it to Doug on that take on if Mike Keene should be starting quarterback. I think JRP has a higher ceiling. They're actually talking on nighttime about it. I think JRP does have a higher ceiling, but he also has a way lower floor than Mikey Keene.
But does he utilize our wide receivers the way that Keene does?
No, I don't think so. And I agree with that.
Because
what do you think, Doug?
So I think you could have gone a million different ways for Beast, but I do like Keene.
No, I do.
I do not think we beat Cincinnati if JRP played the full game.
Oh, I agree. 100%.
I agree. 1,000. And you touched on the weapons. I think Mikey Keene's going to do a lot better job utilizing, because our wide receiver core is so deep, and I don't think JRP has been utilizing them to their fullest potential.
No, his accuracy isn't as pinpoint as Keene. His pocket presence is as pinpoint as Keene. He's always waiting to evade the pocket, even when he's not getting pressure, and he causes extra pressure in his offensive line. They crumble down. Everyone's like, why is the offensive line for UCF suck? Oh, it's because your QB is literally taking too much time in the pocket and then decides to run out onto the right side, and they're not being told this in the pocket. Hey, I'm going to run and shift all into the right side. It's just causing a lot of issues. I think we would have won the Louisville game, honestly, with Keene, because the Louisville cornerbacks are getting cooked by wide receivers. They're stopping our read options. They're stopping our run. They're stopping Bowser. We just needed to score, and we had so many opportunities in that Louisville game. It was like, where is Mikey Keene?
And the last 2 times Keene has been our starting quarterback, a win against ranked Cincinnati and a win against Florida. What was the bigger win for Keene?
Ooh, I mean, I have to say the Cincinnati game, because now it's the first time an AAC school is ranked.
I don't think so. I don't
You
think
think
so.
Florida's a bigger win?
I think the Florida's a bigger win, because
Really?
all these Gator fans that talk so much smack. We're going to play Cincinnati for next year.
Well,
the
it
year
was a
after
bigger
that.
game for bragging rights, but this was a big game for Keene.
I care about
himself.
bragging rights in a sense. For Keene, I think Florida was a bigger win too. Obviously, it didn't get him the starting job, but I think it put everyone on the radar for the transfer portal. But I agree with you on the Cincinnati take.
Do we agree that we should be ranked after that Cincinnati win, after the ECU loss the week prior?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a tough one, because we got embarrassed against ECU.
That's the thing. And I think it's tough to rank somebody after 2 losses that we should have won. I mean, the ECU, we definitely should have beat ECU, but we have 2 big big games coming up. Memphis, who has also had 2 brutal losses their last 3 times out. They had a much-needed bye week this past weekend, but the last 2 losses was a loss against Houston and a 4 overtime loss against ECU. Memphis is averaging 34 points per game, but they're also allowing 31 points per game. What do we have to do to pull off the road win?
Ooh, red zone defense, man. It's been the pinpoint, and everyone mocked us at the ECU game. All you saw on Twitter, all the ECU fans were like, oh, you're the top 5 red zone defense. You're the top 5 red zone defense. Where is it at now? we're gonna have it again.
Yeah.
This defense is ready. I'm in class with a couple of these guys, and I see they're intense. They're getting work to the core at these practices. They are trying to get their communications down. They want to make sure that everyone's communicating and there's no flaws in the back end. I can see us honestly doing some damage to Memphis, and everyone's expecting us not to.
Doug, you had our best for this week?
Yeah, so you also could have gone a million ways for this. I went CMC Christian McCaffrey. He, first time as a full-time starter in San Francisco, he had a trifecta touchdown. He had a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown. Guess who was the last person to do it? My guy LT.
What was it, 2004, 2005?
05. 05.
Goodness.
What a way to first game in San Francisco. What is San Francisco's ceiling?
Ooh, I think it's elevated now because Garoppolo is in the same spot where they wanted to get rid of him just to, let, their other QB get some breathing room. He's injured now. So Trey Lance is just out for the distance. Now they're like, let's win it all. Let's go again. We have a great D-line. We have great linebackers. We have a great secondary. We're playing in the toughest division. We might even win out this division if the Seahawks don't make a comeback. Anyways, truly, I think that their ceiling right now is NFC Championship.
McCaffrey takes them to another level.
Oh, yeah, because now they have dual running backs that can, rip it up. Elijah Mitchell comes back here soon. I mean, that team is dangerous. And what we don't talk about is Jimmy G has really progressed in the season. I've made fun of this guy for so many times, and I'm starting to see he's progressing. And, especially with the CMAC game, I was watching it on Sunday Ticket, and I had the Red Zone ticket on, and I was like, every time it would start to that game, it would be CMAC doing something crazy. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Throwing the ball, everything. Like you said, man. CMAC.
Kyle Shanahan's going to have so much fun with McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He's going to utilize him in so many ways that we haven't seen McCaffrey utilized.
He's the full package.
It's not Garoppolo. Garoppolo is not a Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber quarterback, but he doesn't need to be. He has the weapons around him. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I think, like you said, I think NFC Championship or Super Bowl. But talking about a team that we'll see if they even make it to the playoffs. The LA Lakers, or I should say LA Fakers. I don't know what's going on with this team. They did win last night. Somehow they gave up a 16-point third quarter lead against the Pelicans. Pulled it off, won in overtime 120 to 117. This team was the last team in the NBA to pick up their first win. Started the season 0-5. Now they're 2-5. They still rank last in the NBA in three-point percentage. Shot horribly from three last night, even though Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan, who, as he's famously known as DoorDash, Matt Ryan, was Matty Ice. He hit a game-tying three in the fourth quarter to send the game to overtime, but only 4 players on the Lakers right now are averaging double-digit points. LeBron, obviously Anthony Davis, Lonnie Walker, and Russell Westbrook. Westbrook has been coming off the bench the last couple of games. Do you think they need to keep doing that, to have him lead that second unit to even have a chance at the playoffs?
Screw that. It's time to blow it up.
Blow it up?
It's time to blow up the Lakers. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
They both are. Anyways, Westbrook, he's having a better season than he did last season. I think it's time to trade him and actually get some assets from his potential value. I think it's just time to blow it up there. The LA show is over. The Mickey Mouse rings are over. It's time.
Who would you want in return? I've been hearing rumors about Terry Rozier. Miles Turner has been in the mix.
You need a guy that doesn't want to be a main guy because they have too many main guys there. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. Just all those guys want to be the main guys. They need a guy that's a great role player. Yeah. I can see Terry Rozier. Scary Terry is for real. I like his defense. I like his game.
And he can pop off any given moment too.
I think they need that desperately. But that's all the time we have for right now. We're going to toss it to a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere because Doug is heading over to the green screen to give us his top 5 ad drops heading into Week 9 of fantasy football.
I'm Johnny Jackson. We've got Emily Aaron to my right and Maluka Costa to my left.
Hello and welcome to our segment of Hot Ones. I'm here with Noah Kemper and Grant
Wheeler.
Yep, I knew that. Grant Wheeler.
Listen, I'm a Bulls fan, but I just can't ever argue against LeBron. I watched him my whole life.
I've been going back and forth with this debate for a long time. It's got to be Michael Jordan.
Whatever she wanted. I would wake up in a maid costume for Doja Cat.
Brutal.
Jeffrey Laux, no question.
Richie, I would give it to Richie.
It is not Richie. It is not Richie.
No, it's Jeff.
Richie's pronouns are he, they, because he cannot be him.
What?
Oh, where's that?
I'm gonna have to also agree and say Jeff. He always is spiffy.
It might be Cameron. Cameron's had some good fits.
Out of the women, Norelli always dresses really, really cute.
Oh,
That went so awful.
It's basketball.
College football, I think, is the best sport to watch.
If you don't like soccer, it's because you suck at it.
I think college football is the best.
Thanks for watching.
Welcome back, everybody, and we are joined by the Combine host, Cameron Forcier. I know we don't have the couch that you like, that you have in your setup, but how does it feel being behind the desk?
Fine. First time on Bets this semester. I was on it twice last year. It's always good to be back. Always great. Riley, Jeff, Doug. Thank y'all for having me, of course.
Thank you for being on. Doug is actually over on the green screen right now in his first top 5 ad drops this week. Doug, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys some great fantasy advice. Just listen to me, and it'll all be all right. So our first ad, we're going to the 8th-ranked quarterback, Marcus Mariota. 8th-ranked quarterback. The last 3 games, he's had over 20 points in 2 of them. This guy's on fire right now. Listen, his next 2 games, he's going against Chargers. I'm a Chargers fan, but I got to admit it. Our defense is bloody terrible. And the week after that, he's going against Carolina, who he just put up like 22 fantasy points on. So he'll be a great stream for the next 2 weeks. And my second one, Devin Duvernay. Listen, Bateman has not really been available the past few weeks. He looks to going to miss this game. And he's going to be the wide receiver 1 if Bateman's out. And he gets a decent amount of touches, like 6 touches a game. He's going to be solid, especially if Andrews, I think he's still questionable. He might miss another game or not, but he'll be very solid. Now, I didn't realize making this graphic that my third ad was on bye this week. But listen, you get him, you play him the rest of the season, he'll be a league winner for you. Greg Dulcich. He has double-digit points in his last 3 games and 17 targets over his last 3 games. He's did that with Ripon and now Russell Wilson. He's going to be a league winner down the stretch. Pick him up, stash him on the bench for this bye week, and play him the rest of the season. He'll win you the league. Now, my drops. I got 2 Raiders here. Derek Carr put up like 1.03 fantasy points last week against a not-so-good this year Saints defense. He hasn't even put up over 20 fantasy points all year. Drop him. It's time to move on. And second one, his wide receiver, Hunter Renfrow. He's only been targeted, he's only seen over 6 targets once in 1 game this year. Listen, he's not the same guy we saw last year. Devontae Adams is stealing way too much targets from him. It's time to move on from him also. He put up like 1 point last week. And it's just not enough volume for him to be serviceable.
Now, Doug, I actually don't hate your list. You did a pretty good job for your first time. I agree with all the ads. The one thing I do want to touch on, Marcus Mariota has been such a surprise. If somebody would have told me Mariota would be a top 8 fantasy quarterback this season, I probably would have believed them as much as somebody telling me Geno Smith would be a top 8 fantasy quarterback this season. But the one thing about that is everybody ranked above him, including Geno Smith, has an 83% owned percentage. Marcus Mariota is right around 31%. So I think he's been very disrespected. I actually really like that pickup. Atlanta's been a huge What?
Jeff
What,
said
Jeff?
no.
Look, that offense is so suspect. Feed pits the ball. They don't do it. Their
No,
wide
they
receivers
don't.
are very mid. They
Same
have
with
really,
Drake
they have
London.
2 really up and coming running backs, Huntley and his other boy. They're great, but that offense is so suspect. You can't put value into Marcus Mariota. I didn't drop him every week because I had Tom Brady in one of my leagues.
Doug, I have to give you some credit. I'm really struggling in one of my leagues, 2 and 6. Actually, this morning I did pick up both Mariota and Devin Duvernay because I'm really down horrendous. So I hope that pays out. The Broncos tight end, I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce his last name. I was looking at him a few weeks ago. He got picked up. So I agree with your ads a lot. If you better be right, man. I'm 2 and 6. I need to win.
I got you. I'll win you this week. Don't worry about it.
I honestly think that Derek Carr will have a comeback at the end of the season. I mean, their schedule ends out pretty easy. They're the top 20 easy schedule to end out the season. They play the Colts, kind of a soft defense. Sorry, Grant. Raiders, soft defense. Seahawks, softer defense. Chargers, soft defense. And then the Rams, tough defense. But Their division, I mean, it's tough, but I think that they could do something soon because their weapons and everything around Derek Carr, it allows him to possibly.
He has the weapons.
No,
But with McDaniels, it really relies on that run game, this offense. If the run game doesn't get going, they struggle mightily.
And the one thing I do want to, the tight end, who Dolcic, who has a bye this week, would you take the Jets tight end Tyler Conklin above him? Because they have right around the same own percentage, right around 30%. Would you take Conklin above him?
That is a good question. It
It
seems like Zach Wilson really likes him, especially in the red zone. I believe he had 2 touchdowns last week or the week before. So he's been on a streak himself. You can't go wrong with either one. But I think as the season goes on, I like Dolcic.
Yeah. What, Jeff?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Conklin, don't touch that man. I tried to. When he had Joe Flacco thrown to him, he looked great. He was wonderful. I'm in a 2 tight end league, so I'm dependent on tight ends. So I was picking him up, picking up all the boys. And then when Zach Wilson came in, I watched Jets games. He's an awful QB.
I feel so bad for you for
Get
watching
rid of
that
that man, please. None of his receivers want to play with him. Elijah Moore wants to leave. You have half your team not wanting to play for that team because they're like, Joe Flacco looks better than our own second-year guy, Zach Wilson.
I've owned quite a few Jets players in my leagues. I had Corey Davis. I just dropped him. The Jets are very weird, but I do want to. We were talking about tight ends, and your team, the Minnesota Vikings, just got T.J.
Hawkinson, baby. So thank you for the gifts. Even though I hope you were involved. Thank you for T.J. Hawkinson first. He had a quote that said, "Hey, we actually win games here." Vikings are 6-1. I'm a Vikings believer now. We'll touch on that little next segment, but I hate to be this way, but yes.
Now, and what is the impact that you see Hawkinson bringing?
I think that with Irv Smith Jr. really, between dropping a lot of balls, between just not really being healthy, I think that he does provide that. I know we were kind of targeting Brandon Cooks. There were talks of us for Chase Claypool. We really needed a defense. We needed cornerbacks. Our defense is not good, but Hawkinson really allows us to. I don't know why. I feel like we're just going too much for passing offense instead of focusing on what we need. But
Doug, how did the trade deadline affect certain teams? I mean, what team do you think the trade deadline impacted them the most?
I mean, we went over it earlier. The winner, in my opinion, is Dolphins. But I do really love that Hawkinson trade the Vikings made. I don't think Lions really utilized him to his best ability. He's a really good tight end. He's fast. He has really good hands. But hopefully Vikings will, even in the red zone, it's like Lions would get to the red zone and Hawkinson is nowhere to be found. Goff just didn't like him or something. Hopefully Cousins and the Vikings coaching staff will utilize him, especially in the red zone.
Now, taking a look at our fantasy football standings, I unfortunately lost to Cameron Forcier this past week.
Bless up.
To drop to 6-2, still looking good. Take a look at our scores behind me from this past week. The standings are starting to take shape a little bit. A lot of people are really falling out of the playoff race. Jeff?
My favorite matchup this week is probably the Battle of the Tanks. Emily and Johnny. That was by far my favorite matchup because I was just like, which crappy team is going to win over each other? And, Johnny prevailed. Shout out to that boy.
Jeff is actually the only team outscoring me this season. I'm at 1,016 total points. Jeff is at 118 total points. We've both made quite a few moves. We're both leading the league in moves so far this season. I'm sitting at 6-2. Jeff is also sitting at 6-2. Cameron right here is
4-4, I believe.
You're 4-4. So Cameron still has a chance at making the playoffs. Doug is also sitting at 6-2 so far this season. So the Bets guys are really dominating our HTF league.
Except for Luca.
Except for Luca. Sorry, Luke. But that is all the time we have for right now. But don't go anywhere because we have our surefire bets coming right up. Welcome back, everybody. I actually didn't take a look at our schedule for this upcoming week, so that graphic should be right behind me. We have a lot of good matchups, but for our surefire bets of the week, Cameron, I want you to go first because you actually have a little something extra to talk about, including from fantasy.
So basically, nighttime host Camden Mowry is a Packers fan. I'm a Vikings fan. Week 1, Packers play the Vikings. We made a little bet. If the Vikings beat the Packers, I got to pick somebody on his team to bench and then someone from his bench to start and then vice versa. The Vikings won, of course, as we have 6 times this year. So Camden Mowry, he does not know this. You are benching Derrick Henry and starting Brian Robinson Jr. You are like 5-3. I'm 4-4. We're both about 1 game back of the playoffs. I'm so sorry to do this to you, but it has to be done. I really was considering it, and my friends were like, nah, you're lame if you don't do that. So you know what? I'm doing that. Have fun. My surefire pick, the odds aren't even out yet, but I'm talking NBA. I got the Raptors covering against the Mavericks. They play tomorrow night, 8:30. I don't see a way. I do see a way the Mavericks win because Luka is like that. But the Raptors are incredibly deep. They've had 5 games so far of 8 with 6 players scoring double digits. The way their defense is built up, where they have a bunch of lengthy 6'8" to 6'10" wings who just really play good on-ball defense. They're a very good team. Pascal Siakam is playing all NBA level right now. He just got a triple-double last night. I know it was the Spurs. Yeah, whatever. But they look kind of legit. They won by 43. Siakam had a triple-double, and they had 7 or 8 players in double digits, even without Fred VanVleet. Gary Trent Jr., when he gets on fire, he gets on fire. I see the Raptors beating the Mavericks, but if the Mavericks are favored, obviously I'm taking the Raptors regardless.
No, and a 43-point win against anybody in the NBA is legit. Like you said, so many people contributed. Pascal Siakam, he's looking like an all-NBA player. Who's been the most surprising team so far this season in the NBA?
I think you have to say the Jazz. I think you have to say the Jazz. You have to say the Spurs. You have to say the teams that nobody really thought would do anything. I mean, the Jazz, when you look at who they lost, yes, but they did gain good depth. Obviously, they got back 3 or 4 players from the Timberwolves. I'm obviously biased, but like Jared Vanderbilt's good. Malik Beasley's good. And then they do have Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton. They're just, I don't know how, but they're doing it. And at first, I thought the first few games were kind of fluky, how they started out good. But they're kind of proven the fact that they are not in the tanking for Victor, whatever, I'm not going to pronounce his last name. They're kind of proving that they shouldn't be that. I'm not saying they're a fringe playing team. Danny Ainge is going to do something because he knows the value of having that pick. But I think they have to be the surprise team this year.
Yeah, and Jeff, you also stuck with NBA for your surefire bet of the week.
I'm going to regret this one.
Yeah, you are.
But the Magic versus the Warriors.
Yeah, you are.
Tonight, 7 p.m. This is a statement game for either team. I mean, they have to win, both of these teams, because both of them are at the bottom of their divisions. They're both struggling. But one is struggling with a top 5 player on their squad, and one is struggling with a possible Rookie of the Year on their squad. So let's dive into the Magic statistics real quick. Paolo Banchero, he had 5 or 6 straight games. You cover the Magic. 5 or 6 straight games of 20-plus points each time. No other player really did that before.
Do you know who the last one was?
Who was?
LeBron James.
And that is a great person to compare him to. So I think Paolo is really going to be a big difference. And I don't think Draymond Slowman Green is going to keep up with him. I just really don't. Wendell Carter is a producing double-double machine. People will just sleep on the Magic because they haven't even watched Bol Bol's tape. Bol Bol is what his father wanted to be, but in today's day and age. Because Bol Bol is buffed up. That man is beefed up. I saw him on the side of the street at Amway Center the other day. That man looked like he was built. He don't look like sticks anymore. He looks like what? Tree chunks. Like tree chunks. I guess you could say that. Anyways, Golden State Warriors, 30 points per game for Stephen Curry. Steph Curry's also averaging almost 7 assists a game. I think that's all they have right now. Klay Thompson doesn't look like the same Klay Thompson, in my opinion. Andrew Wiggins has never really lived up to his potential after he really capitalized last season. And shout out to the Timberwolves for doing that to them. Timberwolves really sold the bag on Andrew Wiggins.
And like you said, but I think both teams really need a win. The Warriors are going to figure it out, but it's still early in the season. They've had a really tough 3-game losing streak, 3-game road trip. It's going to be a 5-game road trip. This game in Orlando is part of that. Both teams desperately need a win. They had similar losses on Tuesday. The Magic and the Warriors, they both just collapsed towards the end. Turnovers, they were both held scoreless at certain points in the fourth quarter. I think both teams are going to need to win. I don't know if the Magic are going to pull it off.
The Warriors are favored by 8.
I think I could actually see them covering. The Magic have had a lot of close games so far this season. I think the win is going to be tough to pull
I really
but-
don't trust the Warriors roster, and I'm starting to see the Magic come together.
And
all they need
Jalen
is
Suggs is also coming back.
Yep.
They had that jumbo lineup, including Bol Bol. Bol Bol looked legit in that.
We were up in the Boston Celtics
Yeah,
at a point. Like the Boston Celtics are undeniably one of the best teams in the league right now, and we in the first game we had a possible chance to beat them, and that says something about a team like the Magic.
That's the thing with the Magic. They could very easily be 4-4 or 5-3 right now. They've just had a lot of tough losses because they're young. But Doug, you also had a surefire.
Yeah, so I'm going Chargers-Falcons game. Last time I bet against Falcons, they lost me money. I'm not going to bet against my Chargers because I can also see the Falcons winning this game. So I'm taking the over in this game. The line is Chargers -3. Over-under is at 49.5. Both of these offenses are kind of streaky. But listen, Chargers are averaging 21.5 points per game. Falcons are averaging 25. Like, this is going to lead to a shootout, kind of like the Falcons-Carolina game last week.
Yeah.
But listen, both defenses are also ranked 25 or worse. Like, Chargers are ranked 30th, Falcons are ranked 25th. Neither team has a good defense at all, and I expect a lot of touchdowns out of them.
Knowing what Jeff said earlier, Tyler Aguilar and Caleb Huntley, they've both taken Cordell Patterson's spot with him out with an injury. Who should be getting the bulk of the reps right now in Atlanta?
I'd have to say Algier.
Yeah.
He's been like the more consistent one, in my opinion. He's gotten more touches over these last few games. So I say he's going to carry more of the workload.
No, and what do you think, Jeff?
I agree. I believe that they're both almost the same talent level. One's better at something else than the other. One's better receiving than better than running through contact. But I agree. This is going to be a high-scoring game. The Chargers can't stop much, and the Falcons cannot stop much. So,
Cameron, I think you're going to like my pick of the week. The Vikings are traveling to Washington to take on the Commanders. The spread is currently set at 3.5 in the Vikings' favor. What do you think about that spread, Cameron?
So it's my rule of thumb, don't bet on my own teams, but I've had enough of being a doubter, if just for 1 week, because we play a very tough Buffalo Bills team the next week. Then I want to say that the 4 games after this are like Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, and Jets, and I think this could be a trap game, but I'm denying all of that. I'm a believer for this 1 week only before I get my heart crushed by Josh Allen and the Bills. I like it. I double it up. Vikings by 6. I don't care at this point.
Okay, no, I kind of like
that.
My score prediction
Jeff,
right now, 24-17. I think the Vikings are going to win. I think they're going to cover. And I think their 5-game winning streak has really gone under the radar.
We're not really playing anybody. Like
the Dolphins, they just beat the
Dolphins didn't have Tua. And Skylar Thompson was like kind of shredding us before Teddy came in and did horrible. We played a very injured Saints team, a very injured Dolphins team. We haven't played anybody impressive. This last week was probably the more impressive of all of our wins in this streak, but we just didn't. We almost folded at the end too. So I don't know.
let me just say something real quick. I'm taking Commanders in this just based off of defensive value. And I know your team has a pretty record and you've done great. But if you look at the Commanders in their last couple of games, they've had close, tight games. So you got to watch out. They've only lost to a couple teams by more than 5 points. Anyways.
All I'm going to say, Kirk Cousins' revenge game. But that is all the time we have for right now. I'm Riley Sheppard for Doug Smethurst, for Cameron Forcier, and for Jeff Laux. We will see you all next Thursday.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my head.